So basing on the companies that you have chosen, for group 1, this looks okay. For group 2, Max and San Miguel food and beverage are not direct competitors. So you either choose one and then replace the other one with a direct competitor. For group 3, AC and Aboitiz, kindly first look at the FS, because the balance sheet could be very, very difficult to analyze. Okay, itong service company na to. Shakey's and Emperador for Group 4, these are not direct competitors. Magkaiba to, no? Magkaibang industriya sila. Okay, as I was saying, two companies could be in the same industry. They could be direct competitors or indirect competitors. When you say indirect competitors, they belong to the same industry, but they're not really competing with each other. Okay, the classic example I gave you was Jollibee and, let's say, a burger joint, a burger, just like maybe Burger Machine or Angels. They they belong to the same industry, service, and then particularly catering, providing burger products. No? Pero hindi sila direct competitor, indirect competitor sila. So we cannot compare them kasi masyadong malayo na sila. No? Okay. Group 5, Petron and Shell. Again, guys, you still have time to change this. Medyo complicated yung FS nito, no? And I don't want you to be stuck with the analysis of this kasi mahirap talaga, no? Okay. Red Ribbon and Goldilocks, just make sure you're able to get the FS of this, no? ABS, CBN, GMA, okay. Apple and Samsung, guys, sabi ko sa inyo dati, sa inyo ko ba sinabi yun, that these are international companies. Yung dapat, yung Philippine companies dapat ang piliin nyo. Okay? So, may nag-chat ba? Okay. Alright, so take note of that, guys. No? And again, guys, please look at the companies that your classmates have chosen. Please do not make repetitions. No? Hindi pa pwedeng kunyari ito, Shakey's, tapos Shakey's ulit dito. No? Hindi pa pwedeng ganoon. Kailangan magkaiba talaga. Okay. Alright? So, let's go back to what we were discussing last time, yung questions. Okay, so question number 9, the following numbers were computed by a company. Sabi natin, year 0 is negative 10,000, year 1, 5,000, 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. Okay, so what's the answer to this? What do these values represent for them to be used in the analysis? What we need to do is to determine whether this project is feasible or not, acceptable or not. Now, what do these values represent for them to be used in the analysis? They should be not returns, okay, not profits, they should be cash flows. So you could have answered cash flows or net cash flows or cash inflows and cash outflows. I accepted them, guys. Accepted yung answer na yan. Okay, dito sa last question, dito medyo maraming, actually wala nakasagot ng tama dito, no? Kasi you were basing your, let's draw this para mas makita natin. Okay. I'm going to use this. Okay, can you please dictate to me kung ano yung dito? 10,000. Tapos, ano yung susunod, guys? Somebody please dictate. Ano yung cash flow sa year 1? Anyone please? Paki-dictate para mas mabilis tayo. Hello?
Sir, sa year 1 po, 5K.
Thank you. 5,000, then?
Year 2 po, 4K.
4,000, then?
4,000 po ulit sa year 3.
4,000.
Then 1,000 po for year 4.
1,000.
1,000 po ulit.
1,000. Okay. Okay, let's Let's answer this question, question number 10. Okay, although I gave I gave partial credits, no, to your answers, but let's look at your answers. So this is number 10. Okay, so my question was, should we pursue the project, the project? So let's see. I'm not going to tell you who answered this, but let's discuss. Yes, the company should invest in this project because a full return on investment comes in around 3 years, starting after the project. Okay, so this is a good answer. Okay, this is a good answer. However, guys, tingnan natin ha. Where is that? Dapat kinopya ko dito. Oops. So dito, what happened was, the answer was, kailan ma-recover yung investment? Kasi 10,000 sa una. Let me just, okay, the answer to that question is, all right, sabi natin, sabi ng unang answer, by year 3, ma-recover na natin 10,000, di ba? Kasi 5,000, 4,000, on year 3, ang total na nito, 13,000. So, ma-recover na natin yung initial investment. Okay? I'll suspend my comment after all your answers. No? So, that makes sense. No? That makes sense, yung answer ng isang group. Sabi nila, ma-recover on year 3. Okay? And mathematically, that makes sense. Okay, let's take a look at the other answers. Dito, by comparing the total values greater than, okay, this also makes sense, no? It's inflow from year 4 to year 5 decreased to 1,000. Viable pa rin. Okay, this is a good answer also, guys. In a sense, may katuwiran naman tong answer na to. Bakit? Kasi if we add all of this, 13, 14, 15, 15,000 lahat ng inflows, no? Compared to 10,000 yung outflow. So, it makes sense kasi ang net cash inflow natin is 15,000 versus only 15,000 inflow versus 10,000 outflow. Okay? So, that also makes sense. Okay, how about the next one here? Okay, ganun din to, no? May break-even na raw sa year 3, parang pareho ng una, no? Tapos, ito naman, no naman to because the values are decreasing each year. Okay. So ito naman, no, kasi daw, ang returns bumababa 5, 4, 4, 1, 1. Okay. Sounds logical din naman, no? Kasi pababa na yung cash flows natin over time. Okay, so that was the answer to this question dun sa this group, no? Yun ang answer nila. Tapos ito, no, it's not profitable because ganun din, no? Similar to this one. No, because declining returns. Okay. Next group, you may suffer a loss. Actually, guys, hindi loss to yan, 10,000 ha. Okay, clarify natin. It's not a loss, it's an investment, no? So talagang maglalabas tayo ng pera. It's a project. So we have an initial outflow of cash outflow of 10,000. Tapos ito din, 15,000 daw ang nag-gain. Okay? May formula pa ng ROI dito, profit over initial investment. Okay. So based on ROI, okay, it's a 50% ROI. Pretty good return rate. Okay? So this is also reasonable, no? Kasi compare natin yung inflow na 15,000 versus the outflow na 10,000. Okay, so ang lamang ng inflow is 5,000. So that gives us an ROI of 5,000 over the initial investment of 10,000. So this is correct. 50% na ROI based on the formula. Okay? And then this one, after deep consideration, we will not invest in the project. Cash flow of the company is low. Okay, pareho din to na ibang grupo na sinasabi na we will not, no, this is not a good investment kasi cash flow is decreasing over time. Okay? Ito, 10,000 is initial investment estimated. Okay? Values are constantly declining. Okay, so ito ang sinasabi nila, although hindi sinabi kung yes or no, no? Okay, so I'll assume na yes to, Okay, ang sinabi dyan na ang inflow is 15,000, 10,000 is the outflow. So mukhang okay siya. Although may comment sila na bumababa yung yung cash flows over time. Okay. The cost of investment and its return, the cost of investment is 10,000, return is 15,000. Okay. I will invest. Okay, so this group will invest also. So medyo vary in yung answers natin, ano? Okay. I give you partial credit for that. But guys, the answer is the truth is not one of the answers is financially acceptable. Okay, first guys, ano yung let's say ano yung flaw dun sa mga solutions natin? First, what we did was to add this, diba? In-add natin to, sum up ko is equal to sum of this. So you're correct, this is 15,000 and the initial investment is 10,000. So ang net natin, you're correct, 5,000. Okay? So ang ROI pa nga, yung iba sa inyo, kinompute, is equal to 5,000 divided by this one, lagyan natin ng negative, kasi naka-negative siya. Okay, so it's 50%, tama, no? Okay, kaso guys, there's something wrong with this solution in the sense that you were adding cash flows sa year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. The principal rule, guys, is that you cannot add those cash flows kasi there's such a thing as time value of money. So, pag in-add natin to, guys, ang ina-assume natin to na nasa pare-parehong time frame sila. Which is wrong kasi they are obtained at different time frames. No? So, in order to answer that question, ang sagot dapat niyan ay, okay, ko lang to So, this is time 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dito may outflow tayo ng 10K. Dito may inflow ng 5, 4, 4, 1, 1. So ito yung mga cash flows natin. No? These are our cash flows. Take note, guys, they are not profits. No? They are not returns. They are cash flows. You can only analyze investments, guys. Dapat yung figures na i-analyze natin, cash flows. Okay? So why cash flows? We already explained that. Companies borrow funds as cash. They return funds. They pay funds also in the form of cash. So dapat everything should be analyzed as a cash flow. Paano kung ang data natin net income after tax or profits? Then you have to convert that into cash flows and then proceed with the analysis. Okay? So you cannot add 5, 4, 4, 1, 1. You cannot add them because they belong to different time frames. So the answer here, guys, is in order to determine whether this project is feasible, you will have to convert these cash flows into one similar time frame. So ang usual na ginagawa ay, okay, what's usually done is that itong year 5, pwede natin i-convert siya. Magkano yung value niya now? Si cash flow at year 2, magkano siya ngayon? Ito, magkano siya now? Magkano ito now? And also this one, guys, this 1,000 after 5 years, how much is it now? Okay, so when you have converted everything, guys, into a common time, so lahat kinuha na natin, it can be anytime, guys. It can be at year 3. So dapat i-convert nyo lahat at year 3. Itong 4,000 na to, hindi na i-convert kasi nasa year 3 na siya. Or you can convert everything at year 5. Okay? The cardinal rule is that all the cash flow should be converted at one specific time frame. Okay? Pag na-convert na sila sa lahat na time frame, kunyari lahat sa year 0, then that's the only time we can add those cash flows because we will not anymore violate the principle of the time value of money. Okay? So, nagbigay pa rin ako ng partial credit, guys, sa answers nyo. But to be strict about it, guys, ang ano talaga, ang answer dyan is all these cash flows should be converted into one specific time frame. It can be at time 0, time 1, time 2, time 3, time 4, time 5. Any time frame for as long as lahat sila naka-convert sa one specific time frame. A normal practice is to convert them at the present value. Okay? So you convert them at the present value. So if, for example, you got these answers already, na-convert na sila sa present value, then you can now add them, and the result, guys, when you add them is what we call the net present value. Okay? And if the net present value is positive, then okay yung project. If the net present value is negative, then we reject the project. So that's how you answer. Okay, so I didn't expect you to, of course, convert already, but I expected, guys, the correct answer of converting it into a specific time frame. Okay, can be at time 0, and then that's the only time we can add. Okay, so let me pause for a while, guys. Clear ba yung ano natin? Paki-chat naman, please, kung clear yung explanation. Any questions? Clear ba yun? Okay. So good. How about the rest, guys? I'd like to see the comments of the rest kung clear yung explanation ko. Okay. So you'll be meeting this concept, guys. Magkakaroon tayo ng mga problems sa ganito. Okay. So hindi nyo basta-basta pwedeng i-add yung mga cash flows na yan. Okay. Kailangan converted sila into one time frame, lahat sila. Pag na-convert na natin sila into one time frame, then okay na. You can now add, subtract, you can now manipulate those cash flows. All right? So that's the answer to number 10. Okay, so let's continue, guys, our discussion. Okay. I also, just to inform you guys, sa modules natin, okay. Sandali, habang, sino yung ano? Sa attendance, sino yung andyan dyan na? While I'm here, guys, i-check ko na to.
Sir, I'm present.
Okay,
Sir, I'm
to?
present na po.
Si Juan to? Juan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Juan.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
then also...
Gamboa
Julian?
po.
Okay,
Yes
Julian
po.
well. Okay, thank you. Okay na, so all present tayo. No? Okay, modules. Okay, please... modules. Okay, dun sa module 1 natin, guys, I resend ko yung slides dun sa part 1 natin, yung ginagamit natin ng slides. Kasi there was a request kung pwedeng, kasi mukhang hindi nyo nababasa yung yung handout type, mukhang mahirap mabasa. So this one, I already gave it as a PDF file, pero na siya, slides. So yung buong slides in one page, so that there will be no difficulty as far as reading the text is concerned. Okay, sinend ko na rin, guys, yung part 2. Okay, and realistically, based on our time now, hindi natin maaabot yung part 2 ngayon. Pero it's okay. We'll complete everything, guys, by next meeting para next week hahatiin natin yung Monday and Wednesday doon sa tapusin na natin si module 1 and then punta na tayo sa module 2. Okay, is that okay, guys? I'm almost tempted not to discuss this anymore, pero hindi, kailangan natin Hindi natin i-sacrifice yung quality ng discussion dun sa speed. Okay? I hope you understand, guys. Okay ba yun? Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, anyway, in case na kailanganin pa natin ng additional session, meron naman kayong homeroom, di ba? So we can tap that. I'll be requesting for us to meet at that time, no? Dun sa homeroom yun. Tama ba ako, guys? Parang buffer natin yun. In case na kapusin tayo ng sessions, tama ba yun, guys? May homeroom kayo na for this particular subject? I think I was given a schedule. Ano ba yung homeroom nyo, guys? For Busifin.
Asynchronous session po ba?
Yeah, asynchronous, yeah.
Our asynchronous for business finance is on Thursdays 2:30 to 4:30.
Thursdays 2:30 to 4:30. Okay lang. Tapos lang ang class ko nun. So we can do that. Just in case lang guys, no? Just in case. Pero as of now, hindi pa naman natin kailangan yun. Okay? Alright. Pero kamusta naman yung pace natin? Masyado bang mabilis? I'd like you to give immediate feedback to me. Kasi I will have to adjust kung masyado mabilis yung pace natin or masyado mabagal. Okay, and please don't compare our pace with the other classes. Baka yung ibang classes na kilala nyo, nasa module 2 na sila, they will have their own pace, we will have our own pace. No? Okay, so paki-comment na lang guys kung okay naman so far. Thank you, Syra. Okay, thank you. How about the rest? Kendrick, thank you. Okay, yung iba guys. Okay, okay, thank you, Kyla. Okay, all right. Denzil, thank you. Okay. So thank you for those feedback guys. Caleb, salamat. I appreciate those kasi if I'm going too fast, then thank you Marco. Then I will have to adjust. Jill, salamat. Okay, salamat sa inyo guys sa pag-feedback niyo. Okay, puntahan na natin yung yung PowerPoint slides natin. Ito, we'll finish this. Okay. Hindi naman masyado matagal yung discussion natin nito kasi actually na natin to, no? Na-discuss natin. So we said that the fundamental principles of finance are yung investing principle, financing principle, and the dividend principle. These are the three primary objectives in finance, no? Investment decision, financing decision, and dividend decision. So what does this tell us? Okay, sandali ha. Ang overarching principle natin, objective natin is to maximize the value of the firm. Okay? Maximize shareholder value. Okay, so any body of knowledge, guys, have their own principles to stand on. Ang finance, guys, ito yung tatlong basic principles. Of course, there are other principles, other corollary principles, no? So, sabi natin, guys, sa investment decision, dapat any investment should earn, the cash flows from it should be higher than the minimum acceptable hurdle rate. And that one is defined as the weighted average cost of capital. Okay? I hope you recall that, guys. Ito dapat, ayaw mga sumulat. Pwede. Dapat yung hurdle rate natin should be equal to the weighted average cost of capital. Okay? So, yung financing decision natin naman dapat yung right kind of debt and equity. No? So, ito yung tinatawag natin na optimal capital structure. And what's the optimal capital structure? Anyone, guys? Can you just unmute yourselves? Ano yung optimal capital structure natin? Ano yung optimal capital mix? What have we learned so far, guys? Ano yung optimal capital structure natin? You can just unmute yourself, guys, para hindi ko nabuksan yung chat. Okay, ratio of debt and equity, okay? Pero ano yung optimal na ratio of debt and equity? So that's a question. What's the optimal capital structure or optimal mix? Capital structure is the mix of proportion of debt and equity. Pero ano yung masasabi natin na optimal daw, yung pinakamaganda for a company? It's the capital structure that, anyone please? What did we learn, guys? Ano ba yung tamang, very loose yung salitang tama, guys, ha? It's the one that depends on the company. Yes, it depends on the company, pero ano yung benchmark natin? Okay, it's the one, thank you, Jobel. Paki-share sa lahat ng class.
The one that optimizes shareholder value po.
Okay, it's the one that optimizes or maximizes shareholder value, the one that maximizes the wealth of the firm, no? Yun ang optimal capital structure. So, syempre, kino-compute yan. Finance role is to compute for that, determine ano ba yung optimal capital structure. And sinabi natin, it's not cast in stone. Maraming factors na nakaka-affect yan. And oftentimes, finance would have to re-evaluate kung yun ba yung kung yun yung, okay, ano nangyari dito? Okay, and then lastly, the dividend decision. The dividend decision, guys, sabi natin na it's important for the firm to determine kung how many percent ang ibibigay as i-distribute as dividends, which we call the dividend payout ratio, and how much of the proportion of the net income after tax is retained, or that's the retention ratio. No? So these three are the very important functions of finance. Now, in addition, guys, meron pa tayong corollary principles. Okay, number one, na-discuss natin to, cash flow is king. Okay, so dapat, pag any proposed investments, dapat ang tinitingnan natin, i-measure natin siya in cash, not in net income after tax, not in profits. And we already stated the reason why, kasi cash yung pinag-uusapan, guys. Any financing will be cash-based. So dapat, any analysis of investment should be cash-based also. Okay. Second, time value of money. Money has cost. Sabi natin, 1 peso today is not the same as 1 peso after 5 years. So the implication is that we cannot add cash flows that belong to different time frames. So when we evaluate projects, kailangan dapat nasa pare-pareho silang time frame, which was what we discussed a while ago. Okay? And then the principle of risk and return, the higher the assumed risk, the higher the required return. So this was one of the questions which we asked in question number 8 yata, okay, 7 and 8. Firm A, well-established company. Firm B, a newcomer in the industry. Pareho sila nangungutang ng 100 million, okay, parehong 20 years. One company issued a 7% bond, the other company issued an 8% bond. So, ang tanong natin, sino nag-issue ng 8% bond? The answer is Firm B. Bakit? Exactly for this reason. The higher the assumed risk, the higher the required return. So, companies that will invest or lend money to company B, they're assuming a greater amount of risk kasi yung track record niya hindi pa masyadong kilala, di ba? Hindi pa masyadong maganda. Okay, samantalang si Firm A has a very, very good track record. Matagal din sa industriya, magaling yung nila, yung track record nila. Therefore, guys, companies that invest in Firm A will be assuming a lesser amount of risk as compared to company B, Firm B. So if both of them issued the same tenor, 100 million, 20 years payable in 20 years, if both of them issued 7% bond, walang mag-i-invest dun kay B. No? Kasi bakit higher risk si B, di ba? Bakit ako mag-i-invest dun? Kung kay A ako mag-invest, lower risk, tapos pareho lang yung returns, makukuha ko. Then doon na ako sa doon na ako kay Firm A. Kasi hindi ako mako-compensate dun sa additional risk na kinukuha ko. No? Okay. Then, number 4, guys, is market forces. So it comes from this theory, yung efficient market hypothesis, which tells us that sa mga marketplaces, kunyari sa stock market, yung stock price na makikita natin that's being traded, it already includes all valuable information. Okay? So lahat ng information, kasama dun sa valuation ng stock na yun. Okay? So may mga implications yan, although hindi natin masyado i-discuss to kasi this is more a subject of yung finance talaga, financial management. But suffice it to know, guys, that there's such a hypothesis or a theory called efficient market hypothesis, EMH. No? This is also called EMH. And this tells us that yung price na rin-reflect dun sa okay, EMH. Okay, bakit hindi? Oops, what happened? This is your E. Mhm. EMH. Okay, efficient market hypothesis, which tells us that yung stock price na nare-reflect sa market, kunwari 35 pesos, yung stock price na yan. Okay? It already reflects all the information. Kaya nga naging 35 pesos yan. But we know guys, we know that there is, kasi iba hindi naniniwala dito sa EMH, no? Okay? Hindi naniniwala sa EMH. So medyo may debate tong EMH na to, yung efficient market hypothesis. Some would contend that there are other informations na hindi nakasama dito sa sa valuation ng na to, sa valuation ng asset na yan, sa price ng asset na yan. Okay? So we will not go deep into the discussion of this, guys, but you can, of course, you can search the net, i-google nyo guys yung efficient market hypothesis, and you can read up, if you're interested, you can read up on more details about the contentions against efficient market hypothesis. Okay, and lastly guys, yung agency problem, we have discussed this before. Sabi natin, there's an inherent problem in the way businesses are conducted now kasi they're run by professional managers hired by the company in order to act. Theoretically, dapat yung mga actions nila are for the benefit of the shareholders in general. Pero that doesn't happen always, kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na governance, where the board of directors, SEC is very strict about that. Dapat yung mga board of directors, dapat may independent dapat dun. Okay, may independent dapat dun sa board of directors to take care of the interests of the shareholders in general. Okay, so let's continue, guys. Pag in reference to cash flows, okay, of course we know that the bigger the cash flow, the better. Also, the timing of the cash flow stream, the sooner, the better. Anong ibig sabihin the sooner, the better? Kung may cash flows tayo, guys, mas maganda yung mas malaki yung nasa unahan. No? Kunyari, yung kanina, 5,000, and then 4,000, 4,000, I think it was 1,000 and 1,000. No? Ito yung, ano natin, at year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what is this saying? Okay, the sooner the better. If you compare this cash flow with naka-reverse, no? 1,000, 1,000, 4,000, 4,000, 5,000. Okay, so sino mas maganda? Yung nag-i-increase yung cash flow over time o yung nagdi-decline? Assuming na parehong 15,000 lang, no? Parehong 15,000 yung total. Mas maganda guys yung at the onset, mas malaki na kagad yung cash flow. Bakit guys? This is linked to the concept of the time value of money. So kung mas malapit siya sa year 0, mas malaki yung present value niya. Mas malaki yung value niya at year 0. Okay? Kung ipo-project nyo naman sa year 5, future value yun. Diba? Kasi ang basis natin should be the net present value. Okay? So, yung comment kanina na nagdi-decline over time yung cash flow natin. In a sense, guys, assuming na pareho lang yung total, no, 15,000, 15,000, mas maganda to compared to this one. Okay, 5,004,411, kasi ito naman 1,1,445. This is the better cash flow. Okay? Kasi, ito yun, the sooner, the better. The sooner we get the cash flow, a higher cash flow, the better. So getting 5,000 now is better than getting just 1,000. Getting 1,000 after 5 years compared to 5,000, mas maganda in a sense to, no? Assuming na you're taking a look at this on as a whole, no? as a whole at 15,000 total. Okay? Of course, guys, less risk is better. And we know that it simply means that the risk of being able to get the cash. Kasi kunyari, hindi natin makuha yung cash na yan in the future, then it will have an impact on the validity of the project. Okay. Okay, let's take a look quickly at principle number 1, cash is king. Okay, cash flow is what matters. Yun ang principle number 1. So when we evaluate projects, we're not looking at the accounting profit. Accounting profit is not equal to cash flow. When we derive net income after tax, may mga kasama na non-cash. So usually, if we have net income after tax, okay, let's say you have net income after tax, dapat i-convert mo na yan into cash flow. Okay, you have to convert it into cash flow before you can analyze. Okay, and we already expounded on the reason why it's cash flow. Cash flow, it's the cash flow that drives the value of the business. Okay, it's cash flow. Kasi cash flow ang ginagamit sa pag-invest, cash flow ang ginagamit sa pagbigay ng dividends, cash flow ang inuutang ng company. So it's always cash flow. It's all that matters. Now, there's a principle called incremental cash flows, okay, in making decisions. Ang ibig sabihin lang, guys, ng incremental, kunyari, meron tayong outflow na 3,000, outflow, kunyari ito, outflow na 3,000. On the same year, tapos meron tayong 10,000 na inflow. When we analyze this, ang kukunin natin yung incremental. No? So that should be 7,000 na lang. Okay, ito incremental. Outflow, inflow. Okay, what is relevant here is the increment. No? Naglabas ng cash flow na 3,000, nagpasok ng 10,000. What we're going to analyze is the incremental, 7,000. No need to analyze 3,000 and then 10,000. No? Incremental cash flows, guys. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng incremental cash flows. To be determined in making financial decisions. Okay, any questions with this one, guys? Yung cash flow is all that matters. Kindly chat, please. Kung clear ba yun? Clear ba, guys, yung tatlong principles ito? Okay, thank you. So, tandaan natin, guys, accounting profit is not equal to cash. It's cash flow that drives the value of business, and incremental cash flow is what's considered incremental. So, on the same year, sabi ko nga, kapag may inflow and outflow happening at the same time, just get the increment. No? Yun lang yung tinitingnan natin. Okay, next, time value of money. Okay. So, the principle is that money has time value. 1 peso received today is not the same as 1 peso received in the future. Kasi guys, interest on money can earn interest also. Okay, so that's the principle, no? Interest on money can earn interest also. So that if we invest 1 million today, okay, it can earn interest, and that interest also earns interest over time. So after 1 year, your 1 million would be higher than 1 million as compared to getting 1 million after 1 year. Okay, that's better to receive money now than 1 year's time from now. Okay, so I hope that's clear, guys. Okay, principle number 3. Okay, the risk and return principle. So, alam na natin to, no? Sabi natin, based on a rational investor, rational, yung binagamit yung isip niya, hindi siya willing na mag-take ng additional risk kung hindi siya i-compensate with additional returns. Bakit ka kukuha ng additional risk tapos hindi ka naman i-compensate doon? That doesn't look sound, okay? That violates a principle of basic financial principle of risk and return. Okay, investors expect to be compensated. Okay, like investment, di ba? Ano ba yung investment? Ang investment is delaying yung present benefit for the future. So ano nangyayari diyan? They're actually taking a a bigger amount of risk. No? Kasi dinidelay na rin consumption, and what that means is they are actually delaying the consumption of the object that they want now. That means they're taking on more risk so that after 1 year, dapat compensated sila dun sa risk na kinuha nila. Okay, so that's the same as 1 million today versus 1 million after 1 year. Okay, clear to guys yung principle of risk and return? Paki-chat nga please kung clear. Any questions about it? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, wish ko lang guys, sana pag may tanong ako, feedback from you, I hope that everyone in the room will share their answer, no? Kasi kunyari, kung clear ba, si Kyla lang sumagot na no questions. I was waiting for the 29 others to answer. Okay, I hope you are there guys, no? Okay, number 4. Principle number 4 is, ito yung sinasabi natin kanina, guys, market prices are generally right. This is the efficient market hypothesis. Ito yan. Efficient market hypothesis, EMH. So it tells us that market prices are generally right. Ibig sabihin, the prices of traded assets like stocks and bonds, lahat na ng available information about the asset are already reflected in that price. Okay? So that's what we call the efficient market hypothesis. Therefore, stock prices are a useful indicator of the value of a firm. So, ang sinasabi dyan, pwede nating kasi yung stock price yan, lahat ng information na andyan dyan. No? So, pwede nating gamitin yung stock price yan to compute for the value of the company itself. Okay, this will become clear, guys, when we go to financial statements analysis next week. Okay? All right, so this is one principle. Good decisions that the company makes increases stock price. So, ibig sabihin yung information na yun na yung good decision nila, okay, yung mga investments nila sa ibang businesses, nare-reflect yan dun sa stock price ng firm. Kasi nababalitaan yun eh. Especially if you're listed in the stock exchange, dapat PSE requires you full disclosure. Any project that the company will invest in, any change in management, dapat naka-broadcast yan para alam lahat ng shareholders. No? Kasi kung alam ng shareholders lahat yan, good news or bad news, makaka-affect yan sa demand for the firm, no? Demand for the stock of the firm. Pwedeng tumaas yung demand kasi maganda yung news, pwedeng bumaba yung demand. So ang nangyayari, nagse-sell off yung mga investors. Pag nag-sell off sila, ano nangyayari? Gusto nila ibenta yung stock nila doon kasi nga pangit yung mga news, no? So what will happen is that you have an oversupply of the stock. Tapos konti lang yung gustong bumili. So what will happen is stock price will go down. So this is a classic example of the principle, demand and supply principles sa economics. No? Okay. So now, ang sinasabi ng iba, may mga inefficiencies in the market that may distort prices. Kasi tatlong klaseng but we're not going to go into that. There are different levels of efficient market hypothesis. And some would not agree with this, yung EMH, na lahat daw ng information nakalagay na dun sa stock price na yon. Okay, that's why there's such a thing as technical analysis. Okay, you may wish to look into this, guys. Can I write here? Ayaw pa rin. So dalawang klase yan guys, no? Yung fundamental analysis at saka technical analysis. Okay, so ito, how do you project daw the price of a stock of a company? Yung fundamental analysis, it's based on the efficient market hypothesis. No? So ang ginagawa ng fundamental analysis, ang ginagamit yung mga financial statements, yung balance sheet, income statement, etc., yung mga reports, no? Okay, so it's based on yung known information already, no? So in order to project the stock price, ang ginagamit ng fundamental analysis, known information like the financial statements. Ang technical analysis naman guys, ang ginagamit niyan, yung mga prior stock prices. So pag nakakita kayo guys sa mga chartist or mga technical analyst, you may Google this guys, no? Ginagamit nila yung mga past values. Makikita nyo yung, let me just show an example para medyo maintindihan natin ng konti ito. So, technical analysis. Okay, yan. Guys, ito yung ginagamit nila, yung mga chartist. Ginagamit nila yung mga previous stock prices in order to project the price of the firm. Okay, so there are different ways to do this, no? Iba't ibang measures. Okay, mga trend, okay, mga SMAs, but we're not going to go into that. When you, if you so decide to take finance later on, may isang subject tayo na ganito, no? Na pag-aaralan yan, yung mga, ano ibig sabihin ng mga chart na yan. So that's part of what we call, yan, types of charts in technical analysis. Okay, tinitingnan natin yung patterns dito, no? Yung mga patterns ng prices before in order to project yung kung ano yung magiging stock price. Okay, so you have here, yan. Tinitingnan yung ano, tinitingnan yung mga patterns, no? Okay. Patterns ang tinitingnan dito. So you have two conflicting types of analysis here. Yung isa yung fundamental, okay? Yung isa fundamental analysis, yung isa naman technical analysis. Pag sinabing fundamental analysis, guys, ginagamit yung financial statements, yung balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flows in order to predict the value of the firm, the stock price of the firm. Yung isa naman, technical analysis, yung mga charts, yung mga stock prices. Okay? And last principle, guys, last foundational principle is conflicts of interest cause agency problems. Okay, na-discuss natin last time to, no? Okay, sabi natin na sa age ngayon na ang nagmamanage ng firm are professional managers, there's this potential for conflict as far as managerial actions are concerned. Baka yung action nila will stand to benefit them and not necessarily the shareholders. And we said that one way to mitigate against this is to make the managers also part of the firm, owners of the firm. Kaya tayo meron employee stock option plan. Okay, so we have raised this already, guys, itong agency problem. And it's the role of finance, guys, to address this. Okay, kasi kung hindi na-address to, at stake, guys, yung sa mga shareholders. Okay? So to summarize, guys, okay, corporate finance, it's just common sense, no? Common sense naman ng corporate finance, eh. It's nothing earth-shattering. Okay, for example, sa investment principle, taking investments that make 12% with funds that cost 11%, okay, it makes sense, di ba? Mag-i-invest lang tayo dun sa mga projects na yung returns niya should be greater than the average cost of capital. If it costs the company 11% to acquire funds, dapat hindi tayo mag-i-invest sa mga projects na ang returns niya are below 11%. That's common sense, di ba? Yung returns natin dapat dun sa project should be higher than the cost of acquiring funds. Okay? All right. Also, noting it's better to find a financing mix which costs 12% instead of 13%. Financing decision yun. Okay, kung makakahanap tayo ng financing mix na ang weighted average cost of capital is only 12% versus 13%, syempre, mas maganda yung WACC na mas mababa. Bakit? Ibig sabihin, mas maliit yung i-hurdle ng company. Okay? So, ano implication yan? Kunyari, yung optimal, yung capital structure ng firms is that 13% yung nagiging WACC nila as compared to 12%. So, pag may mga project, for example, na ang return is 12.5%, diba? I-reject natin yon kung ang WACC is 13%. But if it's the WACC is 12%, then we will approve that project that has a return of 12.5%. Okay, clear ba yun, guys? Pause muna ako. Ulitin ko yung example ko. We have a project that whose may project tayo na ang return niya is 12%. Yung return yan, usually ang tawag dyan IRR, no? Internal rate of return. At 12.5% pala. 12.5%. So if the IRR is 12.5%, tapos kung yung WACC natin, guys, 13%, okay? Kung yung WACC natin 13%, i-reject natin yung project na yan. I hope that's clear, guys. No? But if our WACC is 12%, okay, then we will accept that project kasi yung IRR niya, internal rate of return, is higher than 12%. Okay, so it's important for firms to really come up with the optimal funding mix. Kung makakakuha sila ng debt, no, which will give them favorable rates, of course, mas maganda yon. Okay. Positing that if most of your investment opportunities generate returns less than your cost of funding, it is best to return the cash to the owners of the business. Ito yung dividend principle natin, guys. Kunyari, over the horizon, yung mga nakikita natin na investments are not feasible, then we can, the management can decide to return the excess cash dun sa shareholders in the form of dividends. Yeah, best to return the cash to the owners. Okay? Okay naman yung earnings pero wala masyadong magandang nakikitang project in the next year, di ba? So siguro the management can allocate some and return it to shareholders in the form of dividends. Okay? Second conclusion, guys, natin sa finance, it is focused. Not only is it common sense, it is also focused. Ano ibig sabihin ng focus? Okay. Isa lang yung pinaka-objective, which is to maximize shareholder value. Okay. Sabi natin, some are clamoring for stakeholder to look at the stakeholders also. In theory, guys, it's good. However, there could be difficulty in as far as its implementation. Okay. Where applicable, syempre, titinan din dapat yung needs ng stakeholders. But the primary objective of the firm should be focused on maximizing shareholder value. So anong implication nito? Pag-iisa lang yung singular objective, makaka-focus talaga, guys, ng right investment decisions rule to use. Okay? Choose the right investment decision rule, given a menu of such rules. Then right mix, ito yung investing, ito yung financing, ito yung dividend. So babalik talaga tayo dun sa tatlong principles natin: investment principles, financing principle, and dividend principle. Okay. Third, guys, it is universal. Ano ibig sabihin ng universal? Maliit ka man o maliit na firm, okay, public firm ka man or private, nasa mature industry ka man or nasa emerging market ka, any situation, guys, any firm will have to make these three decisions: investment, financing, and dividend decisions. So this corporate finance is universal. Kahit nasa anong bansa ka, kahit nasa anong industriya ka, kahit na bago ka lang, kahit na matagal ka na dun sa industry, no? Kahit na public company ka, ibig sabihin ng public, guys, listed ka sa stock exchange, private, hindi ka listed sa stock exchange. Small company, large company, you name it, guys, corporate finance principles follows. Okay? And the objective in corporate finance remains the same, to maximize shareholder value. Whether you're an American firm, a Filipino firm, a Japanese firm, a Korean firm, in whatever color, whatever country you're in, the principles of corporate finance is fundamental, it's primordial, it's primary, and it's important that firms adopt these principles. Okay? And back to universal. Sabi natin, while constraints and challenges that firms face can vary dramatically across firms. Ibig sabihin, iba yung mga challenges, iba yung mga constraints ng companies that are in one industry as compared to others. Or in that industry, small firms may have different challenges or constraints compared to large firms. Okay? Yet, the principles do not change. Okay? Yung principles yun, they are cast in stone. A publicly traded firm, ibig sabihin, pag publicly traded kasi, ibig sabihin they're listed in the stock exchange. So may greater access sila sa capital markets, and yung investor base sila diversified kasi since it's listed in the stock exchange, maraming nag-i-invest dyan. Okay? Therefore, they may have much lower cost of debt and equity than a private business. Okay, so ang publicly traded na company, guys, may have lower cost of debt and equity compared to a private business, but both of them still have to identify the financing mix that minimizes their cost of capital or that maximizes shareholder value. Okay, so in-illustrate dito, guys, whether it's a small firm, a large firm, a firm in telecommunications, a firm in food and beverage, a firm in financial services industries. So whatever industry, whatever size of the firm, still yung financing mix decision has to be adopted. Okay, walang exception dun. Okay, walang exception kahit na anong industry ka, yung investment decision na dapat pipiliin lang yung mga investments where the returns are higher than the cost of capital, still, dapat nasusunod pa rin yun. Okay? Walang exception, guys. Kaya sinasabi natin dito, it's not only common sense. Okay, sabi natin, not only common sense, it's also focused, and it is universal. Okay? Para ito sinabi ko rin kanina, a firm in an emerging markets may face greater uncertainty when assessing new investments than a firm in a developed market. Compared to a bagong industriya versus a well-established industry, mas maraming risk ang andun sa bagong industry. Okay? But both firms should invest only if they believe they can generate higher returns on their investments as compared to the hurdle rates. Okay? Universal yan, guys. Universal. So, hindi nagbabago yan. Okay, clear so far, guys? Clear? Pwedeng pa feedback kung yung ano natin na yung common sense siya. Okay? Let me repeat that, guys. Common sense. Ano pa? Focused. Okay? And thirdly, universal siya. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys, for the feedback. Okay. Lastly, guys, have you heard of VUCA? Pakichat nga, guys. Before I discuss this, before in your previous subjects, guys, narinig nyo na ba yung VUCA principle? Paki-yes na lang or no? No. Okay, good. Good. Ayan, good. Okay, so I just want to explain to you very briefly, ano ba yung scenario na which companies face now? Okay, which makes really finance also very difficult. And so, with the other functions of business, no? This is the VUCA principle. Ginamit to una sa US Navy, no? Yung environment na faced by the military, no? So ginamit na ito sa business. Yung VUCA principle tells us that the business environment now is very volatile. It's very uncertain, it's very complex, and it's very ambiguous. Okay, so ito yung challenge ngayon sa management. No? Even financial managers face this. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Bakit volatile, guys? Kasi very fast, unpredictable changes nangyayari, guys, sa business environment ngayon. Sometimes hindi clear yung patterns or trends. Okay? Uncertainty, frequent disruptive changes. So, yung pagbabago, guys, buti sana yung pagbabago na malumani lang, but it's disruptive. So talagang nababago yung ano. Kunyari, technology, guys. Nag-invest yung company sa isang technology na mahal, then after a few years, panibago na naman. So hindi na pwedeng ituloy pa yung paggamit ng equipment na yun kasi may iiwanan sila. They lose customers if they'll not invest in this new technology. We can think of several examples about this. No? Uncertainty, even in the use of technology. Complexity, guys. Ano yung complexity? Medyo mahirap na ma-analyze yung business environment ngayon. Okay, you have now industries that have become parang nagiging unclear na yung boundaries nila. Okay, dati, guys, yung communications, yung telephones, no? Dati iba yan kaysa dun sa let's say sa mga providers ng content. Kunyari sa television. Ngayon, guys, nagme-merge na siya eh. Telecommunications and content providers, kaya nga may Sky Cable na. Okay, Sky Cable now competes with Globe and Smart. Kasi si Sky Cable also provides internet services. So whereas before, mag-iba yung industry na yan, ngayon, parang naging blurred na, naging ambiguous na yung, naging complex na, naging ambiguous na yung industries na yan. Okay? Clear yun, guys? That this is to paint now the difficulties as far as the business environment is concerned today. So I would, guys, marami naman sa internet, guys, ng readings about this. I would that you read up on this also for more explanations. No? Very brief na yung explanation natin dito. Okay, now I'd like also to tell you that meron ng VUCA 2.0 ngayon. Sige nga, check nyo nga, guys, sa internet, ano yung VUCA 2.0? And then ilagay nyo nga sa chat, guys. What's VUCA 2.0 now? Interesting, no? Na nagkaroon sila ng VUCA 2.0. What does that tell us? Can you put that in the chat box, guys? Ayan. Thank you, Aaron. No? Ayan. So I'm sure you'll see this. This is actually in answer to the VUCA 1.0. So management principles have come up with an antidote to this VUCA. No? Okay. So we will not discuss this, guys, but expect me to ask that maybe in an essay. So for you to read upon that. Thank you, Janela. Sabi nga, no, ang VUCA daw, yung VUCA 2.0 is in order to address yung volatility, vision. Ibig sabihin, kahit na pabago-bago yung market, kung alam ng company kung ano ba talaga yung yung gusto niya, no? Yung vision niya, how it wants to be 10 years down the road, 50 years down the road, hindi siya mawawala dun sa track niya. Technologies may come and go, but if the firm's vision is to become like this, okay, for example, ang vision ng Johnson & Johnson's is to be the #1 provider of baby care products, mother care products. Huh? And that can be seen in Johnson's baby powder nila, Johnson's shampoo, kasi ang talagang target nila is to become the #1 provider of care for babies. So vision nila yon. Okay, vision nila yon. And no amount of changes in the environment will detract them from that. Okay? Ang vision, guys, usually cast in stone yan. Tapos ano pa? Understanding. Uncertainty, guys. Okay? ang antidote na niya, understanding. So if the firm understands the trends in the market, makakatulong yan for them to perform well. Complexity can be addressed by courage, and ambiguity can be addressed by adaptability. Okay, so I'll not continue discussing that. I would that you do some readings about that. Okay, so I just wanted to introduce you these concepts para alam natin na yung environment ng business na ngayon, including yung financial function, it's exposed to this. It's exposed to this business environment, but companies can easily adapt to this. Okay, so that ends, guys, our part A. Now I move to part B. Makapagsimula ako sa part B, ano? Okay, so this is still part of module 1, and it's all about the the institutions, the intermediaries, the instruments, and the markets. Okay, so if you take a look at any organization, usually ito yung makikita natin na organizational chart, yung hierarchy. The board of directors, and then you have the CEO, and then you have may iba pa, no? Ibang companies can have the CIO, Chief Information Officer, pwede pang yung Chief Knowledge Officer, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, Chief, others call it People Officer or HR. Okay? Pero yung iba naman, ganito yung setup nila. You have the COO, and under the COO are marketing, production, operations, etc. Okay? So this is just one example. Big companies would tend to have yung sarili nilang CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, etc. But in a regular, quote-unquote, companies, pwedeng ito, COO, CFO, tapos sa CFO, under that is accounting, treasury, credit, okay, capital budgeting, etc. Okay, so this is just an example of an organizational chart. Okay, then let's go into the markets, the institutions, and the instruments. Okay, first, let's take a look at financial markets. Ano ba yung market, guys? When we talk about financial markets, okay, they are places, no? Places are pwedeng physical or pwedeng virtual. Dati, ang pag sinabing places, it's a physical place where buyers and sellers physically meet. Pero ngayon, guys, in the age of technology, pwede tayong maging buyer and seller sa isang market na hindi tayo nagkikita. Whereas before, as I mentioned a while ago, pag physical, nagkikita tayo. Kita ko kung sino yung bumibili ng product ko, kita rin ng buyer kung sino yung nagbebenta ng product niya. So it's a physical place. But nowadays, the market, the definition of the market has been revised, has changed, nag-evolve na siya. Sabi nga natin, where buyers and sellers participate in the trade of assets such as equities, bonds, currencies, and derivatives. So this is what we call financial markets. Of course, maraming ibang klaseng markets, but the focus of our study is just financial markets. So there are other definitions, okay, typically defined as having transparent pricing, regulations on trading costs and fees, and market forces determining the price of the securities at trade. Okay, pag sinabing markets, guys, usually regulated siya. Kunyari, stock market. So it's the Philippine Stock Exchange that manage this. Okay, of course, with the supervision of SEC. No? So CPSE, Philippine Stock Exchange, it is a place where buyers and sellers of stocks meet. Okay, meron transparent pricing yan. Pag okay, efficient yung market, guys, andyan dyan yung elements ng transparent pricing. Okay, alam ng lahat kung magkano ang Jollibee ngayon, no? Magkano ang San Miguel ngayon, magkano ang Metrobank ngayon. That's transparent. That can be seen sa mga internet sites, no? There are strict regulations on how to trade. Okay, there are identified costs and fees. Okay, and then, ang at play dito are market forces, yung law of supply and demand, that determine the prices of the securities that are being traded. So pag tumataas yung demand sa stock na yun, tumataas yung price. No? Talagang pure economics yan, guys. Pure market forces yung nagdedetermine ng, ng price. Okay? Kung may news kunyari na si isang company i-acquire si another company, if it's very positive, ang mangyayari niyan, that news will have to be announced, no? Dapat communicated yan sa stock market and people will be aware of that. So people can now make sound decision kung bibili ba sila ng stock price na yan. Okay, so that information will be reflected ultimately in the stock price kasi people will now decide based on that information, and then dito na papasok yung market forces. Kung tataas ba yung demand for the stock or bababa, and then which ultimately affects the stock price. So that's how it works, no? Kaya nga in a sense, tama yung efficient market hypothesis. In a well-defined market, in a well-performing marketplace, yung mga information na yan, nare-reflect na yan sa stock price. Because the stock price is determined by the economic law of supply and demand. No? E saan nanggagaling supply and demand na forces? Doon sa information na kukuha. Okay? So, sabi ko nga, in a good market, information flows freely. No? Walang mga tinatawag tayong privileged few na sila lang yung nagkakaroon ng information na gano'n. Kailangan transparent. Kaya nga ang tawag dyan, guys, transparent pricing. Okay? So we can be sure that it's okay to invest in that market. Otherwise, pag may question dun sa integrity ng market na yun, walang mag-i-invest dyan. Okay? Nobody will invest in that market because of questions of integrity. Okay? That's why it's very important for those that manage the market to make sure that the rules and regulations are obeyed, no? Tapos pinapenalize sila yung sa mga nagva-violate ng ganun. Okay, so markets are an economy's central nervous system. Okay, so pinaprocess kasi sa market na pa-process yung information quickly. Okay, and then investors would now know how to allocate resources to whether to put it in that stock, and then which ultimately determines the price of that stock. Babalik na naman tayo dun sa law of supply and demand. No? Okay, so ang importance ng markets, they offer liquidity. Okay, offer liquidity. Ito importante yung communicating information, and there's this function of risk sharing. Explain ko in greater detail to as we move on. No? Examples of financial markets: money market, capital market, securities market, primary, secondary. We'll have other examples later on. Okay, so basic definition lang yan ng financial markets. Okay, so let's take a look at three principal players in the financial markets. Andiyan dyan yung mga borrowers, andiyan yung mga savers, andiyan yung mga financial institutions. So sabi natin kasi pag market, meron tayong quote-unquote borrowers, meron tayong savers, meron tayong intermediaries. Those that help connect, no? Itong borrowers at saka savers. Okay, moving on, guys. Another function of financial markets. Okay, so maraming functions kasi yung financial markets natin. So, financial markets help channel funds from persons or business without investment opportunities. Okay, ito yung mga lender and savers. May excess cash sila. Hindi nila alam kung saan ilalagay ito. So, pwede nilang ibigay, ipahiram dun sa mga tao na may mga investment ideas, and they're the borrower spenders. No? Lender, savers, providing capital to borrower spenders. Okay, bakit mas maganda na ibigay ipahiram, quote-unquote, ng lender savers dun sa borrower spenders? Kasi kung wala naman siya makikitang investment opportunity, anong gagawin niya sa cash? Ilalagay na lang niya sa ilalim ilalagay niya sa angkalsya, ilalagay niya sa piggy bank, ilalagay niya sa bamboo na alkansya. Okay, so nagdi-devalue lang yung pera nun. So might as well punta siya sa market kung saan niya pa pwedeng ilagak yung pera para, for example, the intermediaries will now be the ones to get the money and then provide borrowers with it. Of course, may cost, yung may interest on the part of the lender. Now, this will improve economic efficiency. Okay, meron tayong tinatawag na range of frictions. Okay, we'll discuss that in greater detail. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so let me just briefly describe yung segments of financial markets. So when we talk about financial markets, meron tayong direct finance at saka indirect finance. So ano yung direct finance, guys? Pag sinabi natin direct finance, directly yung borrowers at saka lenders, they meet, no? Okay, not necessarily physically. It can be, as I mentioned a while ago, can be through a virtual place, no? Pero diretso sila, no? Diretso. So lenders borrowers borrow directly from lenders by selling to them financial instruments. Okay? Okay, so ito yung direct finance, no? Meron namang indirect finance, borrowers borrow directly from lenders, borrowers borrow indirectly via financial intermediaries. Okay? Ito yung gumagamit ng intermediaries or financial institutions like banks, no? Like banks, guys. Yung banks hindi direct finance yan. Kasi dinideposit ni lender yung pera niya sa bangko, tapos si borrower ang nagpo-provide ng mechanism para si intermediary which are banks, sila yung magpapahiram dun sa borrowers. So hindi dumidiretso si lender dun kay borrower. There is this there's this third party called the FIs or the financial intermediaries. Okay, yun yung indirect natin, no? So where borrowers borrow indirectly from lenders via FIs. So FIs or financial intermediaries are established to source both loanable funds and loan opportunities. Okay? So through the banks, guys, pupunta dyan yung mga may excess funds. So ito yung mga loanable funds. Tapos para ipahiram dun sa gustong humiram, okay? So they provide loan opportunities. Okay? So loanable funds and loan opportunities. Yung may loanable funds, yung mga savers, yung may loan opportunities, yung mga borrowers. Okay? So, and they issue financial instruments which are claims on the borrower's future income or assets. Okay, pag sinabing financial instruments, ito yung sabi natin yung security or yung contract, no? Okay, as proof na humiram nga si 'di ba? Pag humiram ka, may may security ka na pipirmahan, no? Na as proof na humiram ka nga ng amount na ganito, tapos payable in how many years, tapos may interest, no? Those are what we call the financial instruments or securities. Okay? Security, kasi parang sinisecure niya yung nagpapahiram. It's a document that secures the lender. Parang proof siya na itong borrower na to, ito yung hiniram niya, tapos ito yung terms, ito yung interest, payable in how many days, etc. Okay? Then, yung next slides natin, guys, these are just examples of the financial system. Okay? Sorry kung hindi masyadong clear to. I gave several examples here. So in a nutshell, guys, ito yung financial system natin. So meron tayong lenders. Meron tayong lenders dito. So sino yung mga lenders na yan? Pwedeng individuals, pwedeng companies, pwedeng si government. Si government pwedeng magpahiram. No? Okay, pwede rin mga non-residents of the country. Okay? Tapos dito may mga net borrowers. Okay? Ganun din. Firms, government, households, non-residents. So meron tayo na may excess cash, meron tayong kailangan ng cash. So paano itong mga nangangailangan ng cash, paano sila makakakuha ng funds? Okay, pwedeng directly. Okay? Pwedeng directly to the money market, capital markets, guys. Direct yan, no? Pwede naman din through financial intermediaries. Okay, so pwedeng yung fund flow na yan, guys. Pwedeng through FIs, and then si FIs ang magdi-distribute dun sa mga nangangailangan ng funds. Okay, so this is what I mentioned a while ago, yung direct finance, ito yung indirect finance. Indirect finance has to go through financial institutions. Okay? Or financial FIs, no? Financial intermediaries. Okay, so that's what we mean by, ito yung flow, no? Okay, I have 1 more minute. So let me just look at these 2 other slides. Okay, so kung titingnan itong dalawang slides na to, guys, ganun din siya, no? We have the suppliers of funds. Ito yung mga net savers. We have the users of funds. So, pwedeng, ito ang pinasok lang, intermediation lang dito, ano? So, ito hindi siya complete kasi wala itong direct. Walang direct. So, this gives us the specific markets, equity market, corporate market, money market. Okay, nakikita natin dito yung pagpasok ng ng funds. Kunyari, ito. Ito, mag-i-invest sa equity market. Okay? So, yung firm makukuha yung cash nila. Si firm naman, as a security, magbibigay siya ng shares of stock dun sa supplier ng cash. Okay, ganoon din guys sa bonds, for example. Okay, through the bond market, corporate market, okay, cash, ipapunta dito sa firms. Ito naman, magbibigay ng promise to pay. Ito yung bonds, long term. So makukuha nito yung bonds. No? Okay, mag-i-issue to ng bonds na payable, na babayaran niya. Ito naman, investment in bonds niya. Okay, money market, alam natin guys, short term lang yan. Example, commercial paper. Okay, so intermediation then via banks through bank deposits. Okay, magdi-deposit siya, ibibigay yung cash dito sa firms. Itong firms na to, babayaran yung banks, tapos ibabalik yung cash nun sa users, sa suppliers of funds. Okay, so it's time already guys. Okay, ito ganun din, no? Okay, so let's end here. May I request you to just look at this again, itong tatlong to. So next meeting guys, we'll be able to finish this 12 up to 35, tapusin natin to. Okay, so thank you so much. I hope you learned something today. So let's stop.